The transmission I had, as I recall, was magnesium cased. This is aluminum cased transmission, so the car's going to be a little heavier than it was. It's got more body fill in it. The body wasn't this slick before. 96-inch wheelbase.
Wow.
We had this car built and ready for the 74 season, and based on what we thought the rules would be, based on the 73 rules, I heard the appeal of the Chevrolet Camaro guys and the Duster guys that the Fords with the Pinto was 94 inches wheelbase and the Mustang 2 was 96. So we had an advantage because when they lined up on the same place with their front end that we did, their tires were further back, and they put a fresh coating of rubber on the track, coating on the rubber on the track. When you let out the clutch, the tires pick up the rubber that's underneath the tires, and then it burns forward as it accelerates. Well, we've got always a better rubber with this short wheelbase. So they said, well, we're going to give a weight advantage to the longer wheelbase cars. So the figured 108 inches would be the thing you had to have get the advantage. And so I looked at what was available. 74 Mustang was 106 inches. It was 108 inches. The two-door Maverick was 106 inches, which wasn't enough. But a four-door Maverick was 110. So the Maverick was a smaller windshield and a smaller cross-section of air going through the wind than the Mustang at 108. And so we said, we'll take the 110 inches, spot you two, and see what we get. And we wore them out with that 110-inch wheelbase car. So this car was organized after that just to be a match race car, and I took it to Gainesville for the event there to have a nice article done for one of the magazines, and they did a competition story, and they did a story for it on the actual race. The first pass I made on it, I had not made a pass on it before I went down there. I did some low speed run at Milan because the track was too cold and wasn't ready for a full pass. And so anyway, I got it to the Gainesville and went my first pass. And right in the traps, the deck lid, the rear hatch cover got pulled back enough at the front, it caught air. Well, I set an altitude record for a deck lid, probably went 300 feet in the air. And all of a sudden, I felt the pressure from the exhaust. I felt like my head was up the exhaust pipe, the header pipe. It was hot and it was smelly, and I looked back behind me and all I could see was parachute. I couldn't see anything on the back of the car. And so we got back and figured what we were going to do. The glass was broken out of the deck lid hatch. Couldn't use it over. I was driving a 74 Mustang 2 rental car. It was white. This car had some white on it, and I says, I wonder if I can go rent a car. So I went to Jacksonville to rent a car, and bought a white Hertz car back, and screwed it with sheet metal screws into the back of the car. Qualified either on the pole or very fast with it. It surprised everybody how fast it was. And I was runner-up to Wally Booth. The first round, Gap blew up the engine in the four-door Maverick, and so I'm helping change the engine. They called me to the starting lines 3 times, and finally they sent a mini bike down after me. It says, if you want this car, which was this car, you want this car in the next round, it says get in it, go to the starting line, don't stop at the bleach box, go to the starting line, we're going to turn the lights on, and you'll red light if you don't get there as quickly as you can. So I got in my car, hooking up my harness seat belts. It's like around the corner. The guy that I'm going to race understands what's going on, and he didn't do what they wanted. He didn't go to the starting line. He stopped at the bleach. So we both did our burnout, and he'd put a whole shot on Bill Jenkins and run before and beat Bill. It had all parts from Jenkins' shop, and I put a whole shot on him and beat him. But I think I went faster than he did anyway. But I won the next 2 rounds, and then I had Booth for the final. I had an engine in it that was just a customer engine, didn't have my best heads on it, and I got beat by a couple of hundredths of a second.
So some other stuff you'll notice, they had the original wheels for the car and restored those.
Yeah, we restored those here,
Right.
motor wheels.
And it's a lot. You can see it's a ladder bar suspension.
Yeah.
Take a peek in here, Abe. So we'll show you the Lenco transmission, which, you know, if you're a motorhead, you're probably familiar with it. You can see they got tape on the shifter knobs because you don't want to scratch those up, right?
Yep.
As you're doing the restoration. Floor-mounted pedals. Andy mentioned that it's got like a modern NASCAR style drive
Yeah,
shaft
it's
in
a
it.
piece that Jack wanted in there. It's a safer piece, a better piece.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got your rear cross member.
Factory coilover Monroe shocks. The rear coilovers.
Right.
Yep, that we've restored.
So by 74 also tubular chassis where, you know, probably the original Pro Stock cars that were back half had a square frame in them.
Yeah, yeah. And rules back then, you had to have some type of carpet, 2 seats, and glass windows. You couldn't have Lexan back then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing some cool stuff, like it's got like a double frame chassis. You can see like a double frame here.
Don Hardy was known for doing that style of chassis and built many of them like that. Even it crossed over to the Chevrolet stuff.
Right, and then it looks like a fairly long ladder bar because the ladder bar comes to about here. You can show the camera where my hand is down here, but I don't know if you can see that. But the ladder bar extends all the way up to here, as opposed to having a 4-link in it. Yeah. Ladder bar was the way to go, I guess, back then. Still with coilovers, and even I'm looking at some things like the clevis. It doesn't have Heim joints. It's just got like a clevis, just clevises that connect the ladder bar to the rear housing. Ford 9-inch, of course.
Match racing and something called the United States Drag Racing Team Series, and we were at Cleveland, Ohio. I think at Norwalk was actually the community the racetrack was in, and I won the first 3 rounds. My car was fast, and I had them cornered. I was faster than the rod shop, which I had to race in the final. I had to hurt my canvas in the final. I come out of the bleach, and the car stepped sideways a little bit. I revved it up and popped it to make sure the wheels are dry, tires are dry, and it stepped sideways again. I said, I'm having a flat tire. It had turned the tire on the bead. We had them screwed down, but it had broken the screws and slipped the tire, and so it was tearing the inner tube at the hole in the wheel. I knew exactly what happened, so I put the car in, the lights crooked. The guy in the starting line looked at me, what are you doing? I said, turn the light on. So he turned the light on, and the car came up on 2 wheels, went straight as an arrow on the wheelie bars, right down the racetrack.
Did you win the round?
I won my $2,400.
Nice. With a flat tire.
I had to take my truck down to change the tire and put it on the truck. I couldn't drive it back because it was on the wheel when I got there. But I was probably only running 3 or 4 pounds of air. Anyway, so
that's a cool story.
It's a memorable car, and I'm pleased to be able to restore it, and I'm going to be more pleased when I'm able to make a burnout with it and see if I want to make it pass.
That's going to be something. I got to be there for that. So there you have it, everybody. As always, we appreciate you checking out the channel. The man himself, the cat in the hat, Jack Roush, a longtime friend of mine. We've done a lot of stuff together.
We've had a lot of fun, but we're going to have some fun with this car too.
And I can't wait to see it. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.